blood, for pride, survive. You're forsaken, your bones are breaking, yeah. Like the Nazi, like the tribes, they come to battle on this night. The ring, the field, the war, that's where they lay the law. Lay the law, once again, prepare for war. TWC, the night for a night, to live is to die, and live to die. TWC, blood, for pride, survive. Forsaken, your bones are breaking, yeah. Like the Nazi, like the tribes, they come to battle on this night. The ring, the field, the war, that's where they lay the law. Lay the law, once again, prepare for war. TWC, an eye for an eye, to live is to die, and be denied.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Bagpipe Report. I'm Blake Norton and I will be your host for this evening. We have got all the wrestling news from around the world, as long as we got Johnny Storm here, the biggest sex machine, best wrestler in England.
Oh my God, that show! Yeah, oh my God, that show! Get off!
Sorry. What do you say?
Get off my goddamn show!
Sign my petition, FWA, baby.
Petition.
Fuck off. Let's hit the music, Jack.
Okay, good evening everybody. Welcome to the Bagpipe Report. My name is Blake Norton and it's a pleasure to serve you once again this Friday for 60 minutes of the latest wrestling news and information. First thing on the news tonight, congratulations to Adam Abbs. 2 out of 3 falls match, crowned first ever NWA Ireland Heavyweight Champion. Had a great match this past Sunday with Paddy Morrow, the Suicide Machine. Congratulations. The address is up on the screen right now. The online address for NWA Ireland. Check those guys out. Congratulations to Adam Abbs. Now we're going to bring in Brian Alvarez from the Figure 4 Weekly Newsletter, our good friend. He's calling us now from Seattle, Washington. You can check out the newsletter on WrestlingObserver.com. How are you doing this week, Brian?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good stuff. Well, let's kick it off with NWA TNA this week. Some comings and goings. Been a bit of talk about Mark Mero being involved with TNA to some degree, and about him actually perhaps competing on Impact next week. What's the situation with Mark Mero, who we haven't seen in several years since his big WWE run?
Yeah, he was working for the XWF, which is Jimmy Hart's group.
That's right.
And he's training someone. For the life of me, I can't remember the guy's name.
A radio show host, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something
Monsters
like
of the Midway or something like that. Some radio show host, and the host is going to be a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was going to be like a one-time deal, but I think he's going to actually be working. And he asked Mark Mero quite a while ago if Mero would come in and team with him and whatever, and Mero wasn't interested at the time. But I don't know if they upped the offer or what happened, but now I guess he wants to come in and wrestle. So apparently at some point he'll be debuting. So.
Well, that's certainly interesting. We haven't seen, of course, you're very right, he was with XWF, but we really haven't seen Mero in several years, and he really hasn't been active either. Also coming in, I've heard, is Terry Funk. Is that going to be a short-term or long-term deal?
Probably short-term deal, because, Terry's getting really old, and I can't picture
They've been
him
saying
wanting
that for 15 years, though.
Yeah, and probably longer than that, probably about 30 years. But I can't picture him wanting to fly to Orlando every single week.
Right.
And they teased it on Friday that he'd be coming in on Impact, but they didn't actually outright say his name. Well,
Right.
they did, but, it wasn't like he'll be here next week. They were teasing it. So he'll probably come in for a show or two, and I guess he's part of their championship committee or whatever, so, he'll appear every now and then.
And I suppose, since he keeps having retirement matches, how many can he have for the same promotion in the same couple of months, right?
That's right.
Just making fun. We love Terry Funk very much. Also, Spanky, we talked about this a few weeks ago, filmed some vignettes for the company. There's some talk on the internet now that he won't actually be coming in. Have you heard anything about this?
I've heard the same thing. I don't know what the deal is. He's done some weird things like in the past 6 months or so, as far as missing shows for weird reasons and that sort of thing. And
Actually, he missed an FWA show on this side of the water just last month, and FWA is the biggest wrestling promotion in England right now.
yeah, so I don't know if, he's got his Japan dates, and I don't know if he's just happy to do that and wants to keep that gig and isn't worried about anything else. But,
Right.
I guess he decided not to call anybody back, so no TNA for a while, I guess.
Well, we're going to move right on to WWE news. The big boss man, Ray Traylor, passed away this past week. What have you heard about the circumstances, just based on just peripheral vision here? Just as a layperson, I would say I don't think steroids were involved, but he was a person who had serious weight issues, obviously, as people know from his career, and he died of a heart attack, that much I know. What have you heard, and what's the situation?
Well, the first thing, I don't think steroids were involved either, but you have to remember that a good number of guys throughout the last 30 years or 20 years have done steroids, and a lot of them are guys that you would never expect.
Right.
And the names I always throw out are like Josh Barnett. If you ever saw him, just a horrendous body, and he failed a steroid test and lost his UFC title.
Right.
So you really can't tell by looking at somebody if they were on steroids or not, but I don't think that killed the boss man. But he did, I think that he had clogged arteries, so it was probably, bad diet throughout his life, and things just added up and he died, something of that nature. But, the one thing that surprised me about Boss Man was there were a lot of wrestlers that I talked to that were going on and on about what a truly wonderful guy he was. And I know you hear that a lot with other guys that die, but it was like overwhelming for Boss Man.
Right.
And I'm not surprised that people thought that he was a great guy, because I'd heard that before. But I don't know, it's just like you never really heard that so much when he was alive.
Yeah.
But then, it's just people were coming out of the woodwork after he passed away, and it was really surprising and sad. So.
Yeah, and it's, again, sad to see someone who is so young, and so many baby boomer wrestling fans, in our generation, know him so well from his heyday back when WWE exploded. And just 2 years ago, he and Mr. Perfect were tag teaming on Raw, and now both of them, very young men, are gone. And our condolences sincerely to his family and his friends. Now on SmackDown last week, we had Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Mick Foley come on and talk about their favorite SmackDown moments. Was it a success ratings-wise?
I predicted a 3-1, and it did a 3-2. So it didn't, and I'm sure WWE predicted a lot higher. But, I mean, personally, I think that, the people that are watching the show right now are going to watch it no matter who's on it. And the people who used to watch the show when Austin and everybody were on it, I don't think they were even aware that these guys were going to show up.
Because they only plugged it to the viewers that are already there.
Yeah, I don't, I didn't think it was going to make a big difference, and it didn't. It probably, LA was preempted, so it probably would have done a 3-3, which would have been the highest rating in a long time. But last week they did a 3-2, so it's not like it, lit the world on fire or anything like that.
Ding dong, the baby's dead. Which baby? Kane's baby. Is this the end of that storyline, thank the sweet Jesus, or is this just another little turning point here? Obviously, I mean, we were talking originally, in fact, you were adamant that everybody told you that it was going the distance, so was there a major change in plans at some point along the way, or was it expected that the baby would die, but the Kane-Lita thing would keep going the distance?
There was a change, and I'm not sure when it took place, but I know that on the Heat, the day before they did the miscarriage, they were talking about how the baby was okay. I can't remember the exact words they used, but something along the lines of the baby's going to be fine or whatever. And then the next day, the baby was not fine. So I don't know if,
Right.
they had Gene Snitsky fall on her, and then they took a week thinking about should we do it or not, and then they decided on Monday, well, let's just do a miscarriage or what the deal was. But the plan originally was to go 9 months, and I don't know what caused them to change their mind. But yeah, it's over now, and Gene Snitsky is he's Kane's new rival.
Is he a new signee to WWE? Is he going to be in a pay-per-view, or is he just going to get squashed next week?
Well, I saw him in Ohio Valley, and he is not ready for prime time. but he's big, so of course they brought him right up.
Right.
And they've been going on the road, and Kane's been getting like the biggest pops of any of the baby faces, and beating Snitsky in like a minute. So I don't really know where they're going to go. I do know that like over the last few years, Kane has been on the verge of becoming huge, like several times.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, and they always managed to crush him every single time. The biggest was when he unmasked.
Yeah.
And his quarter hours on Raw were just through the roof as compared to everything else.
Right.
And they brought in Shane McMahon and had him feud with Kane, and that killed him dead.
Yeah.
And I can see the exact same thing happening here. Like, they almost stumbled onto their new biggest babyface, and they're going to have him feud with Gene Snitsky, and he'll be nothing when it's over.
Yeah. I really hate to say this, but if you put the entire rest of the Kane-Lita situation behind you, I thought Kane was actually quite good last Monday. I thought he was. I mean, he seemed to be quite genuine. I mean, I almost felt sorry for the guy, which is definitely a good sign. I should think anyway. But
well, Kane is like a shockingly good actor.
Yeah.
But he's also paired with Lita, who's a shockingly bad actor most of the time. So there may be something to that.
I don't want to get off on a rant here, but because of the storylines and the characters being so inconsistent, I think one of the reasons that Kane gets such a big pop is because there's fire and because he's 7 foot tall. And when you're live, it doesn't matter how badly you handle the character. There's still, that big explosion, and he's still 7 foot tall. I think that's one of the reasons why he can sort of come through where other characters are dwindling in the wind a little bit. Move straight on to the pay-per-view. Now, I checked the WWE official website for No Mercy matches because off the top of my head, I could think of 5 matches that were official for No Mercy. So I checked the WWE site to see which ones I'd missed.
I forgot what pay-per-view you were talking about before I got that rant. This is a SmackDown one, right?
This is SmackDown.
Okay.
But off the top of my head, I could think of 5 matches on No Mercy. So I went to the No Mercy website to see which ones I was missing. They had 4 listed. I know an extra match that the official No Mercy website doesn't know about. And I saw it on SmackDown like a week ago. But anyway, the headliner is Undertaker rematch with JBL in a last ride match. What's happening with the World Championship? Is it staying with JBL or is the Undertaker taking it away?
I don't know. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if Undertaker took it away.
Really?
But the fact that they're doing this sort of match suggests to me that Undertaker just doesn't want to get pinned, and it's an easy way around it.
Right.
And if you remember, like 10 or 12 years ago, they did the deal where they were doing a casket match, I think, with Yokozuna, and 8 million guys came out.
Royal Rumble '94, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've got Orlando, they've got, if they want to bring Viscera and Gangrel back for one night, and some other heels, they can all come out and shove him in a hearse, and he loses, and he's mad, and that's that. But
yeah.
JBL is not going to be champion forever. It's just a matter of who's going to take it off him, so
Right,
we'll see.
right. Moving right along, John Cena and Booker T. Where are they going after the pay-per-view? I don't really have a read on this match. I don't really have a good sense of where either guy is meant to go because John Cena needs an opening in the main event slot right now to go up because he's sort of too high to be a mid-carder, not really high enough to be a main eventer, and he just needs that opening to go up there. At the very least, he'd freshen things up, and I have enjoyed his Best of 5 series with Booker.
Well, I think the question is whether or not he gets all his filming done. If he's not done filming, he'll probably just lose and disappear for a while.
The Marine, the movie coming out from WWE?
Yeah, I think he's in Australia right now, but
Right.
I don't know what their filming schedule is, so he may be gone for a while. But it's when I first read like the SmackDown spoilers, they were talking about how Paul London beat Booker T, and to me, I was like, oh well, they're setting up a challenger for after this Best of 5, but then he didn't beat him. So I got no clue where they're going. This makes no sense to me. It's actually the whole problem with Raw and SmackDown lately was even when like you watch a show and you don't hate wrestling afterwards, and sometimes it's even a good show, but it'll be over and you'll be thinking, okay, so what was the point of that? And you should never be thinking that after a wrestling show.
Yeah.
Like there's no direction to the show. There's no direction to the feuds. You can't care about anybody because there's nothing really to care about except maybe Kane. And I don't even think that's they're trying that hard. They're just doing something goofy with the guy to keep him busy. But it's just they need some sort of direction for all their characters and all their shows, and they really have none.
Well, speaking of direction, Eddie Guerrero was taking on Luther Reigns. Okay. Okay, joining us now in studio, we have one of the foremost representatives of British wrestling. You have seen him in so many different promotions. You've seen him all across the world. You've seen him in FWA, where he's one of their biggest stars, Ring of Honor, CZW, NWA, TNA, their home DVDs, and much, much more. It is a pleasure to say hello to the Wonder Kid, Johnny Storm.
What's up, dog?
How are you, Johnny?
How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. Now, most recently, you had a match with James Ty. You lost that match, and it was loser leaves FWA. Now, tell us, what have you been up to since that, and are you working to get back into FWA?
Oh, wow. Just hit me with the hard one straight away.
I just thought I'd put you in that position.
Killing me. Lost to lose, loser leaves FWA
you lose
match.
Lost to lose?
Yeah, I lost that as well. I don't know where, I still haven't found it, actually. No, basically, we did the deal in the FWA because I was going to Thailand for 3 months to do the tour with Scott Conway. And that's a whole horrible story, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yes.
Seeing as you're such a great reporter.
The pain and the misery and the suffering of professional wrestlers is what we thrive on.
Yeah.
You know?
You
That
do it
gets
so
the
well.
ratings, man.
But basically, I'm doing a deal now where I'm trying to get back into the FWA.
Mm-hmm.
Got my petition right here, which is signed by all you guys, the millions of crew that is the wrestling channel. And it's going good, you know. FWA is happy with it, and they're happy with the direction of it and stuff like that. And James was awesome in the match. We had a real good match to go out on, and I think it worked really well. And I really like the stuff they're doing with me at the moment, and I think they've got just better things.
Well, speaking of you and the FWA, of course, this is ongoing, but you did return for one match, which was against Colt Cabana, US superstar. How did that go?
That was awesome. Colt is obviously one of the best indie workers out there at the moment, in my opinion. And Ring of Honor is a great company, obviously. We knew him from before there. And it was a deal where they brought Colt in, and he was originally going to wrestle, I think it was 5-star Mark Belton. And they thought, wouldn't it be cool if we go in this direction, you know what I mean? Because we actually came home early from Thailand, so I wasn't actually scheduled to be on the Broxbourne show.
Right.
And they said, well, we can do this if you like this, and it sounded really cool. And we came up with a petition gimmick and stuff like that, and just the response we've had from it so far has just been awesome. And I think it worked really, really well. But they haven't clarified yet that how or when I'm going to be back in the FWA, so I might not be back in just yet. So if you see me in the street, sign the petition, baby.
Now, when you talk about English wrestling, you talk about Doug Williams, who's, of course, had a lot of success abroad. Noah in Japan. He was Ring of Honor Pure Champion just last month. You talk about James Ty, who in FWA has wrestled many of the great wrestlers who've come in, AJ Styles and many other guys. He's their go-to guy. And you would be, in that trio, you'd be the third guy because, of course, not only have you wrestled superstars here in the UK and Ireland, such as Colt Cabana, you've also gone over to the US. How much pressure is on you to represent England? Because, I mean, when people see you wrestle for NWA TNA, they see that all over the world and they go, this is what English wrestling is about. Is that hard to live up to?
No, I don't think so. I think it's long overdue, to be honest, because nobody looks at British wrestling, or looks at England, really, for wrestlers anymore. I mean, we produce some of the best wrestlers in the world, you know. We've got, you know, Dynamite Kid, Davey Boy Smith, people like that. Johnny Saint, you know, the list goes on, Robbie Brookside. And no one looks at England for people anymore, and it was only by chance that me and Jody got the opportunity to go out to the States, because when we did Best of the Best 2, which was the first show we did, we actually lucked into it because 2 guys, I can't remember who they were, but they pulled out of the tournament like 2 weeks before. Right. And a call got made to a friend of ours, and he recommended like me and Jody, and that's how we got in. But basically, no one even thinks of looking at England. I don't know whether it's because flights are expensive, or they have this misconception that flights are really expensive to the States, which they're not really. Not compared to, you know, like an internal flight from the States from like the south to north will probably be the same price as like England to Philly, something like that. But I don't know whether it's the misconception or what, or they don't think that we've got like those type of wrestlers anymore, but we have. And you know, it's just getting out there and getting them to know it. And I think with people like Doug and me and Jody going out there and stuff, then they're realising, wow, Britain's got like a good talent of wrestlers, and we're going to start looking at it now.
Now, the door opened in unlikely fashion, but since then, you and Jody both, you wrestle in CZW, obviously, also Ring of Honor, and you guys have had amazing matches all over the world. Would you consider him to be one of your best opponents?
Oh, Jody's awesome. Absolutely awesome. He's fantastic. He's just a phenomenon, you know. I mean, I don't know, you can't teach talent like that, you know what I mean? I'm a big believer in, with wrestling, you've either got it or you haven't got it. And Jody was just one of those people who just took to it like that, and it was just fantastic. And it was a really sad day, I guess, when he decided to retire. But, you know, we hold out hope that he'll be back someday. And
do you think there's a chance? Do you think he will?
I think he will, down the line. Down the line. I mean, he's got personal problems and stuff like that, but, you know, I'm sure he'll sort it out. It's nothing major. And I know for a fact that he absolutely misses it desperately, and I'm sure he'll be back.
Well, that's good to hear, because he's an amazing performer. The kind of style that you and he wrestle, you can see the influence, you can see 10, 20, 30 years ago English style in there, but there's also a much bigger emphasis on high flying that simply wasn't around, because so much of wrestling we see today actually came from England, and a lot of people don't realize this. Do you think that, I mean, we've only started to touch the tip of the iceberg in terms of the long-term effects of the high spots and the big bumps. Do you think that people like you and Jody will have shorter careers because of that? How do you think you'll be 10 years down the road?
I think about it a lot, to be honest with you. I do think to myself now that, oh my God, I'm hurting now. Not terribly, but, you know, I couldn't stand up. Like, I was in a club the other night, and I was just standing at the bar. And after like 20 minutes, I was like, geez, I need to sit down or something. And I'm thinking, my God, I'm quite young. And in 10 years' time, what am I going to be like then? Yeah. So it's really scary in a way, you know. And I don't know, I try and I cater to the show that I work, if you know what I mean. If it's obviously FWA, then that's the sort of style they're looking for, the crazy stuff or something different, you know. And whereas more the old school shows like is more family orientated and stuff. You don't have to go out there and kill yourself because the fans will appreciate more like the little things. So basically, I'm trying to maneuver myself more to that sort of style. So I only have to do the crazy stuff when I have to do it, you know, or when I'm getting paid to do it. Good.
What promotions do you enjoy working for most? I mean, on that topic, for instance, when you work with All-Star Wrestling, I know that Brian Dixon has a big emphasis on connecting to the fans, and he cares more about you connecting to one fan than doing a Hurricane Run off the top, which is sort of what you're talking about.
Well, anyone will tell you who works with Brian Dixon, yeah? I'm sure if you get any of the other guys in here, like Colt and people like that, the first impressions you'll get of him is like, he'll come up to you and say, I want action. Action, action, action. That's exactly it. And he doesn't care about psychology or anything like that, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but for his shows, he just wants the fans involved 100%. And to be honest, that's what I like. You know, I can't stand going out there in, I'm not saying Japan specifically, but you know, Japan more appreciate it more, don't they? Right. They're like quiet and they watch and they're interested. But when I was in Japan, I was just going out there and geeing up so much. I was like, come on, baby, come on. And it was funny because over here, like the crowds would be like, Johnny, Johnny. And in Japan, you hear like these obscure voices in the crowd, like, it's mainly women as well. Like, it'd be like, Johnny, like that. And I'm looking around every time someone's saying it at the start of a match. It's like, Johnny, there's one over there. Johnny, Jesus, there's one over there. And it got to me, I thought, wow, I can have some fun with this. So the next time someone said it, it was like completely quiet. Someone goes, Johnny, I go, what? And the whole place just popped, man. I was like, damn, this is easy. I want to come back to Japan.
Well, you were in Japan recently, actually. Ross Hart sends his regards. He was one of the people you were over there with.
Ross is awesome.
He is absolutely awesome. Who were you over there with, and how did you find working on it?
Wow, it was actually the second time I've been to Japan. Right. I went to 01 first for Steve Corino, obviously, which was absolutely great. We did pay-per-view for them, which is wicked. And it was actually in the same arena. It was in the place where Noah has their home base, Diffa Arake or somewhere like that it's called. Awesome arena, absolutely fantastic for TV. And it was called the WrestleAid Project, and it was run by this wrestler called Mr. Go, his ring name is. And Joey Legend was actually the guy who hooked me up with it. I was in Thailand at the time. I was literally just coming home and I got a call saying, Johnny, man, they're doing a cruiserweight tournament. Are you interested? Yes or no? I need to know now. And I was like, let me think, yes. No, actually, I said, what's the money? Yes. And then,
Consummate
that was it.
professional
Yeah,
wrestler.
yeah. And it was like a week after I got back from Thailand. So I came back, I went on the camps for like 4 days, then I went to Japan. I was knackered.
Right.
But I was really glad I went because they flew us in on the Tuesday and the show was on the Sunday. So I was like, oh God, Japan, you know. You hear about these death tours where you're just bored.
Yeah.
But it was so good, man, because they took us out, they took us swimming, they took us around Tokyo, they gave us money, they gave us women, you know. But it was a really cool company, and they've got a show in October, which they got coming up, and they got a show in December. I'm hoping to get back in December, actually from Thailand, because it's a real cheap flight, and it's like a 5-hour flight.
Right.
But really cool promotion to go for, and I recommend it. Some of the guys there was obviously Ross Hart, like you said. He brought in the Stampede guys, Teddy Hart.
That's right. Was T.J. Wilson there? Or?
No, it was Jack Evans,
Right.
Petey Williams. Oh, God, who was there?
Some of the guys you've seen from TNA, of course, and things like that.
Yeah,
so.
first time I met Petey.
Really?
He was really cool. I actually wrestled him in the semis.
Right.
And we had a really good match. Ross really put a match out. I was so happy with that. Because I really respected Ross because I was like, Ross, anything about the match? He was Johnny. It was awesome. Probably my favourite match. I was like, hey, you the man, Ross. Respect, bruv. And he's like, come over to Stampede and stuff like that anytime you want. And I was like, dude, I'll do it. You know, it'd be cool. It'd be fun. And I was just speaking to some of the other guys about one of the incidents there with Teddy Hart. He'd done his elbow in the match, and that was quite a controversial thing. But
was it a one of those controversial things that happened but didn't happen, or?
Well, I'll just say he gets injured a lot.
I've found that.
I don't understand why.
Well, speaking of Japan and 01, in fact, the first promotion you worked for, a lot of U.S. guys are working over there right now. Low-key's taking a lot of work. Spanky, a lot of people are talking about Brian Kendrick, who left WWE recently.
He's a good guy as well.
Yeah, apparently he's turned down NWA bookings. He's turned down FWA bookings to go over to 01. What is it about the promotion that makes a lot of guys from this part of the world, the U.S. and England, want to go over there?
Man, it's a different world. It's got its good and bad points, but I'd say the good outweighs the bad, obviously, because you're just treated with respect. Japan is real big on respect out there. Like, just everywhere you go, you know, they're like, oh, you know, really nice to meet you, and really genuine people and stuff, and they treat you like superstars. I mean, I guess we're sort of classed as stars within the wrestling world, but over there, you know, everybody and anybody just treats you with so much respect, and you feel like a superstar, you know, and it's just awesome. It's a different world, and the fans after shows, you know, we had fans outside our hotel like 2 days before the show queuing up just to like get autographs and pictures and things like that. They take their wrestling really seriously out there, which is really good as well. And they haven't sort of broken kayfabe to the extent like America has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess, I don't know whether it's they believe more, but they're more into it, and more serious about it.
Allow themselves to respect without
Yeah,
feeling
and that's the
stupid.
way it should be,
It is.
in my opinion.
American wrestling, we had Jim Cornette on the phone last month, and we were kind of, reminiscing about the death of kayfabe. Is it less fun now to wrestle in a place like the U.S. where people, like, when you mess up one spot or something, everybody thinks they're brilliant. It's like, you effed up, you know, all this kind of, like, fans almost act like they're above you and you have to dance for them kind of thing.
Yeah, it's only America. I've really found that in some parts of America. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to explain, really. I mean, the bottom line is these are wrestling fans, right? And they're here to enjoy the show. So why would a fan, like, they obviously like wrestling, they want to be part of it and involved in it. Why would a fan come along to a show just to say you suck?
Yeah.
You effed up, things like that. Yeah. What's the point? You come to enjoy yourself, right? You don't come here to just say, oh, that was crap, that was crap, because you're insulting the product that you like. What's the point of going, you know? Yeah. I really think fans should get involved as much as possible. I really enjoy that. And just get into it, enjoy it, come, be a fan, have fun. What's the big deal with that, you know? And it has got to the point now where it's too far, you know, and it's really hard to, like, get over. Philly is like the one that gets, it's said, you know, the hardest place in the world to get over.
Right.
But once you're over in Philly, man, then it's cool. It's back to normal, you know what I mean? You have to get past that first hump for, like, where they see you're like a decent worker or they respect you or whatever. Then, if you do, like, miss a spot or something like that, then they won't grill you so bad, you know what I mean, because they like you and stuff.
Right.
So I like wrestling in Philly now, you know. I've wrestled at the arena like umpteen times for XPW and stuff and CZW, and they've always been cool with me, but first time going in there, I just see guys get killed, man, by the crowd, and they come backstage and it takes it out of you, you know, because you think, well, what have I done wrong, you know?
Yeah.
You're just there to try and entertain these people, and they're just like slagging you off, and it's depressing in a way. But
Has that kind of mentality entered English wrestling, do you feel, or is it still more fun and more old school?
everyone goes on about like the Smart Marks and the FWA, that's the company for it. I could only recall like maybe 1 or 2 shows where there's been like UF'd up, stuff like that. Other than that, I reckon our fans, like the FWA fans, are awesome because they are respectful, I think, in my opinion, you know. But they're here, they're getting to that point maybe now a little bit where they're like borderline with it. But I don't think if someone does miss a spot, they don't crucify you for it now, you know. They'll be like, oh, and then, you know, get into the match again, you know, clap or G up and stuff like that, and that's the way it should be.
How do you feel the English scene is right now? Is it better or worse than 5 years ago? And is someone like an English star such as yourself, are you able to make a good living in England, or do you need to go outside England to sustain yourself?
Yeah, definitely need to go out of England, unfortunately. There is work, but it's like, it's not exposure shows. I call them exposure shows, you know what I mean? The only really one in England is like, obviously, FWA, and there are some other good companies there, but yeah, like I say, I mean, I go into Europe quite a lot, and thing is, when me and Jodie went to America and we came back, it's weird, we were seen more as stars in this country, even though all we did was do what we do in England, but in America. When these American indie guys come over, fantastic athletes like AJ Styles and, you know, Colt Cabana, people like that, awesome wrestlers, but they're seen in England more as stars just because they wrestle in America.
Right.
And that annoys me a little bit, to be honest, because all they do is they wrestle in America. They do exactly the same as what we do, but it's in the States, and they're seen as more stars.
It does seem to me that when English stars go to the States, Americans like Nigel McGuinness or Doug Williams are like, okay, who is this person? Whereas when someone from the States come over here, almost no matter who they are, it's almost like, well, he's an American wrestler, and that's sort of like a passport or something like that right off the bat.
It's crazy, you know. It's annoying. I think, I don't know.
Now, talking about traveling, of course, when you did leave FWA and England for Thailand earlier this year, we were expecting you to be gone a lot longer. What exactly went down in Thailand that you wound up back in this neck of the woods with your petition, right?
Wow, that was awesome. Thailand was great up until the last, like, 2 days. It was a horrible situation. It was like, basically, an English promoter lives in Thailand, and he went half and half with this Thai promoter. Cut a long story short, he got screwed over, and this guy was sort of had connections to not so nice people in Thailand because it's such a great country for that. And it all went wrong, and we got paid because Scott was paying the money, but he refused to pay. Scott was the promoter.
Right.
And he refused to pay the money anymore because he wasn't making any money. We weren't drawing no people.
Right.
And the deal was they were going to have these tour buses come round, and loads of people were going to come to the show, go on to somewhere else.
Right.
Never happened in like 6 weeks. So we were doing shows in front of like 5 people, if that. And sometimes just in front of the Thai kickboxers, because they had that as well at the same time. And it was a shame because they had these massive billboards. We did like national TV in Bangkok and stuff like that, and it was going so well. And it just all went wrong, and Scott refused to like pay out any more money, which is fair enough because he was losing so much.
Right.
And he said, you guys have got to pay the money, and we said, if we don't get the money like today, we're not going to do the show. We didn't turn up to the show that night. Scott went down there to talk to them that night, and they basically threatened him, you better get out of like the area now.
Really?
So we all like fled to Bangkok, which was awesome, you know, fearing for our lives, and not paying hotel bills, things like that, and fled to Bangkok. Scott got a call the next day, threatening him again with some really, really dodgy stuff, like, it's too much to say, but horrible stuff, basically you can get killed for in Thailand, and it got sorted out like that morning, and we all went back to the area like a couple of days later, and everything's been cool since. So that was that. We got a good 2 months out of it.
Right.
It was only a month earlier, but the plan was once the 3 months was up, there was going to be another 3 months. It was going to be constantly going through the year.
Right.
And it had potential, man. It was awesome. The arena was wicked. And, you know, it just needed to get those tour buses coming in. Plus, it was low season in Thailand when it started. So there weren't that many people around.
Right.
But they weren't banking on that. They were banking on, like, the tourists. But unfortunately, it didn't come off. And I'm going back out there soon to get some more, threaten my life a bit more, which will be fun.
Well, apart from going back to Thailand, where else can we expect to see you? Are you going back to the US, here in England? What will you be doing the next 12 months?
I just did a show in Orpington, Kent, and I wrestled Super Dragon. He runs PWG in California, awesome promotion. Wrestled for them before, and he said, anytime you want, mate. So as soon as I'm ready, I guess I'm going to put some dates together. Maybe I'm going to try and get to TNA in Florida now, if I can get down there, but we'll see how that goes. And just do my usual run, you know. I hang out in Philly, do whatever's going, like CCW, Ring of Honor. I haven't done 3PW yet. Meanie was asking me to come in for that.
Right.
I want to do that. Definitely want to go back to Japan, like I say, in December. Hopefully 01 as well. Try and get that as well at the same time. Just travelling and making some money. Not taking too many bumps.
Well, Johnny, thank you very much for joining us here on the show and for sharing your recent exploits in the world of professional wrestling. Keep us abreast of where you are, and we will tell everybody at home where they can catch you, here or abroad.
Okay, mate. I got a quick plug, of course. I haven't been paid for it, but I expect to be. November 13th, the biggest show of the year, FWA British Uprising 3 from the Coventry Skydome. I will be in Ireland all this week if anyone's around. I have no idea where, but it's in Ireland. So if you see someone who looks like Johnny Storm Street, it might be me. Sign the petition. 8th of October, Canvey Island, WAW, October Outrage, good show. All-Star Wrestling returns to Croydon at the Fairfield Halls after about 6 months on the 12th. So check that out. I think that's me and Colt Cabana. So if you like stupid wrestling and people entertaining you and not actually doing a whole lot of wrestling, then go see that one. And of course, watch the Bagpipe Report every week because I heard it's quite good.
Well, you will get paid for that one.
Hey!
Johnny, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
We'll have you again.
See you soon.
The TBR Move of the Week this week comes from two of the upcoming great talents in the United States. One side, Alex Shelley, the other, Jimmy Rave. Shelley is the upper hand in this one, folks. They call it the power stretch. Basically, Shelley tries to rip his arm right out of his socket and then pummel him about the head and upper torso. Seems to end in something of a cross arm breaker, a very painful looking move and very nice execution. This is your Move of the Week.
That's what they got to do, work on one body part and stay on it, soften it up until you get your chance. Your opportunity is slap something on in the center.
The power stretch, John. The power stretch right now. Alex Shelley applying the power stretch.
Another week, another free pair of tickets to the WWE's biggest ever tour.